Finally, after months of putting it off, I'm ready to review the horrific first-person shooter game that everyone has been clamoring for, Resident Evil Survivor. Though, I don't know how you can call this game a first-person shooter since you never actually shoot at them while playing it. In most light gun games, you might expect to find destructible environments or the ability to inflict limb-specific damage on enemies. In Resident Evil Survivor, the only thing you get to destroy is 2 hours of your life, and zombies can take more blasts to the face with a smile than Zoe Quinn on a press tour. In Survivor, you play as a half-melted Pete Rose knockoff doing his best impression of Napoleon Dynamite.
I will save these 2 kids. I swear it!
Between tracking down a boy who resembles a 40-year-old lesbian and killing 100 Mr. X clones, our amnesiac hero encounters Umbrella's greatest biological weapon of all time, the insidious Wedgevirus. Honestly, I don't know how else you could jam that much denim up an ass outside of a horrific industrial accident at the Levi's factory. All kidding aside, the enemies in Survivor are literally all up in your face, leaving precious little time for lollygagging. Occasionally, you'll enter a room with zombies standing directly beside you, but due to the limited field of view, you won't know they're there until you're suddenly taking damage and the camera pans around as though somebody from Oblivion wanted to talk to you. New enemies include blue spiders, made by adjusting the hue of regular spiders, and orangutans with guns, made by combining regular, gunless orangutans with guns. Multiple branching paths, combined with randomized enemies and the lack of mid-game saving, encourages the player to test multiple routes and avoids replays from becoming completely stale. In fact, I would go so far as to call Resident Evil Survivor a choose-your-own-adventure game, if not for the fact that the word adventure implies the existence of fun. Cutscenes appear to have been pre-rendered on an N-Gauge, and at times, objects in this game are grainier than Kansas. Luckily, pressing R1 points you towards the nearest interactive item. Unfortunately, instead of strafing with one thumbstick and looking with the other, you move exclusively with the left thumbstick, and you bring up the menu by flicking the right. As a result, you can't strafe or move while shooting, and every now and then you'll want to look around and wind up switching to the slow-ass inventory instead. Overall, playing Resident Evil Survivor is less like uncovering a hidden gem than it is like finding a dingleberry in your bedsheets. Resident Evil Gun Survivor 2 Code Veronica Cliff Notes Edition is a light gun game with a name longer than its main campaign and more colons than a gay photo booth. Regs 2 Kv is less of a straight adaptation of the original Code Veronica game and more like someone was asked to recreate the game entirely from memory after having only played it once 10 years earlier, which probably explains why half of the original game's areas and characters are cut and why the nemesis from Resident Evil 3 shows up out of nowhere. If you take too long to clear an area, this lipless mongoloid in fetish gear moseys towards you at the speed of smell, then one hit kills your partner character, who will likely walk directly into him because they are retarded. Survivor 2 is the sort of mindless light gun game you'd play in a movie theater lobby while your mother gave the usher a handy in exchange for tickets to the latest Power Rangers movie, so be prepared to take damage the moment an area loads, deal with a useless partner who will literally pout and stand in your way, and spend more time fighting with the camera than enemies. When an enemy gets close, the camera either gets intimidated and pans down towards your shoes, ensuring you can't see where you're going, or the enemies jump directly up your booty hole where they become both invisible and invincible. Like a woman who contradicted you in public, these privileged monsters can hit you, but you cannot hit them until after you drag them home by the elbow. Oddly, despite taking half an hour to complete, this inbred bastardization of Code Veronica is almost better than the original due to the complete lack of fetch quests, and penis-confusing men in dresses. In fact, my favorite improvement over the original game is so subtle that I can't help but point it out from fear that its brilliance would go unnoticed. The biggest improvement Gun Survivor 2 makes over the original Code Veronica is that the tank at the airport has 2 fish! After beating the campaign, you can waste a half hour of your life squishing bugs in roach mode or explore the fairly meaty arcade mode, which, due to its complexity and inclusion of areas and enemies cut from the story mode, should have probably just been integrated into the main campaign. Overall, if you want to know what it's like to play a game that's been half digested and pooped back out, you should probably ignore that one and do something productive with your time instead. In Resident Evil Dead Aim, the T-Virus has combined with a deadly strain of Japanese cliches aboard the world's smallest cruise ship. Only you, a balding hobo who stole clothes from Leon Kennedy's laundry bin, and Ling Ling, a Taiwanese ladyboy with a concave ass and the face of a boiled horse, can prevent Sephiroth's gay cousin from transforming into a sexually confused stingray and showing his disgusting gill-filled Hall of Thrills to impressionable children. At first, the fact that the T-Virus turned Morpheus into a Tumblr moderator with shemale pattern baldness didn't make sense to me until I looked closer and realized that Tyrant is just Tranny rearranged. Morpheus is one of the few characters in Resident Evil to inject themselves with the virus and retain the ability to speak. Most become the sort of feral grunting abominations one would normally associate with professional football players. However, being a transsexual, it is only sensible that Morpheus wouldn't know when to shut the fuck up. Other bosses include the world's most beautiful feminist and a bee. Regular enemies include blurry zombies, Michelle Obama, and a gigantic shitting butt. Morpheus's diabolical plan is to use the tranny virus to purge the world of ugly people, which is fitting considering the physical appearance of the 2 meth heads sent to kill him. Seriously, this Count Leon can barely speak English, and I can't tell if his girlfriend has Down syndrome eyes or if she's just exceptionally Chinese. This tourist-harassing pathogen of pink eye is so ugly that frankly, I'm glad the mirrors don't work in this game. On the positive side, the lighting engine effectively creates a modicum of atmosphere and the controls work fine, incorporating a quick turn, a passable dodge mechanic, and the ability to move freely while shooting. Ammo is intelligently dispersed, allowing the player to occasionally max out on free handgun bullets and alternately drop excess handgun rounds when better ammunition is available. Though the light gun functionality is disabled in the American release, the first-person aiming works fine, save for when the enemies get in close and the analog sticks become interchangeably too sensitive and not sensitive enough. Environment interaction is limited to a couple of explosive boxes scattered throughout the game for seemingly no apparent reason. There's a stealth element that allows you to creep past certain enemies, but since there's basically no enemy AI, you can just run past everything instead. In the 3 hours that Dead Aim lasts, you'll have a little bit of fun. It isn't a terrible game, just a terribly stupid one. In fact, the most interesting bits of the writing come at the end when 1. Morpheus, like all transsexuals, dies due to complications with his booty hole, and 2. When you realize that Dead Aim is a canonical entry to the Resident Evil franchise. At the end of Resident Evil 6, Chris Redfield's life partner Piers Morgan injects himself with the same electric shemale juice Morpheus utilizes to prolong his life. Whether or not Piers reappears later in the series as a jizz-juggling jellyfish who enjoys performing baths to mouth is entirely dependent on if the writers find some unholy Eldritchian ritual to somehow become even stupider than they were while writing Resident Evil Dead Aim. Well, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, you can subscribe, tweet about it, kidnap some illegal aliens at the border and force them to watch it on an endless loop in your secret basement. Use the links provided in the description of this video to check out my original paperbacks, ebooks, and audiobooks. join my Discord, or sign up for my Patreon in exchange for the right to vote on which game I'll make my next video essay about. Until then, thanks for your time and goodbye!